Hey, welcome back to the channel, everybody. I hope you're having a great week, and I really hope you're doing well. So go ahead and leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already. This is a great way to help out the channel. If you want to do a little more though, the link to buy me a coffee is in the description. Every donation is very appreciated as we are a viewer-funded channel and YouTube will not monetize us. So we're going to do something just a little bit different today, guys. We are going to check out some clips, but I am sitting on a pile of clips that are anywhere from 8 to about 12 minutes long. So today I'm going to show 4 clips that are about that time and length. But with all that out of the way, guys, let's see what we got today. We are live.
When you look at the solar system, there's 9 planets, right? According to Neil deGrasse Tyson, the alleged rapist. They're all spinning in the same direction. You know the odds of that? 2 to the 9th power, 1 in 512. That's very rare. And by the way, do not, during this conversation, do not say it was God's will. Because if you use God, you have to read the Bible. And the Bible does not depict the earth as a spinning ball in a sea of nothing at all. So you can't have it both ways, guys. You can't have a firmament, 4 corners. God sits up and looks at us like grasshoppers. You can't have that and a spinning ball and nothing. Okay, listen. Just please listen, because it's impossible. All right, next up on the solar system model, it's on a flat plane. Not just is the solar system a flat plane, the entire Milky Way galaxy is a flat plane. Want to talk about flat Earth? Oh, flat earthers, flat earthers. You're saying that after a Big Bang, even with the law of thermodynamics called entropy, which we'll get to in a second, somehow our galaxy ended up being a perfectly flat plane where all the planets spin in the same direction. The odds of that are less than winning the Mega Lotto every single day for thousands of years. Understand that. Now look at the moon. The moon is a perfect circle. The odds that happened after Big Bang and just chaos of atoms and particles and dust and rocks colliding is 0. The odds are literally 0. There's no force, there's no wind, there's no erosion, there's no water, there's no force acting upon that moon that would make it a perfect sphere. Next up, why are the craters all perfect spheres? The way asteroids hit, side angle, we've never witnessed an asteroid, okay? The odds that the spin of the moon is exactly the same speed as it rotates around the Earth, again, are 0. If it was 1/4 of 1 mile per hour different, it would slowly turn. The fact it doesn't, and there is 0 physics explanations with the model of gravity as we know it to explain why the moon, why its axis rotation is exactly matching it rotate around us so that we only see one side. Light being shined upon a sphere does not make the luminescence the same all the way across. You can do a test with a tennis ball and a flashlight. It's impossible. It can't happen. It only happens on 2-dimensional objects. Seeing as you've only seen one side of the moon because of its miraculous rotation and its perfect circle, and the fact that the luminescence is the same across the whole thing, implies, I'm not stating this, it implies it's a 2-dimensional object. A lot more than it's a spinning sphere out of the chaos of the Big Bang. Okay? The size and weight of the moon, according to science, it is impossible for it to be rotating around our Earth. The way the moon was created, according to mainstream science, is that an object the size of Mars hit our Earth and created the moon. That's nonsense. We would have rings like Saturn. Where's all the dust? Where's all the debris? Where's everything? That all just disappeared? That makes no sense at all. Next up, the sun is 400 times bigger and miraculously 400 times farther away than the moon. And like 2 machine-cut quarters, they line up perfectly to make an eclipse. The odds of that are 1 in trillions times 1 in trillions times 1 in trillions. It's not possible. That the perfect circles in this world, which can't happen on the moon given the existing model, line up perfectly with something 400 times larger from a third factor, which is your fixed position on an Earth, that they claim is spinning 1,000 miles an hour. Okay, the shadow of the eclipse is 70 miles wide. There is no way to make a shadow smaller than the object. Of course, there are people that say umbra, because like goats, they've been trained to say that, but they cannot recreate an umbra on Earth. They only believe it because they've been indoctrinated to believe it since the time of their birth by people who want to remove their connection to God. Okay, next up, evolution. So we have something called the Big Bang, which is the ultimate chaotic event. What banged? Who banged it? Why did it bang? How did everything come from a fixed point? Don't even try and tackle that because it makes 0 sense. But here's something that you can easily think of, and it disproves everything about mainstream science. The law of entropy is that matter and energy naturally go from order to chaos. If you break a glass even after 1 billion years, the broken shards will not reform into the glass, because objects have a tendency towards entropy, towards dissolving, towards breaking apart. Whether it's empires or broken glass, the longer you wait, the more the broken shards become sand. They get ground down, they will never go the other direction. So how do we have a human eyeball from a Big Bang? The Big Bang happens and it creates a never-ending waterfall, cascade, domino effect of atoms smashing against each other in an empty darkness for eternity. So given the law of entropy, that things go from order to chaos, how on earth do we have the structure of a human eyeball in which we can see light and then recreate the light in our minds as images that represent our physical reality? It contradicts to a point of laughable mockery. Okay, now understand that if anyone says, well, sexual selection, Big Bear, you know, over long periods of time, I used to believe this stuff too. I believed all of it. I loved astronomy. I minored in evolution in college. I loved thinking about how the environment would interact with a human being, increase their odds of procreation or decrease their odds of procreation, and certain genes would pass. Nonsense. You're telling me that that force that created the human eyeball, which is unbelievably complicated, that through a long process of light hitting cells and then becoming rods and cones, if that's from sexual selection, why does our skin burn in the sun? Why do I need an umbrella right now so that my skin doesn't become red and cancerous? Well, Big Bear, it's because you're from the north. Why don't I have hair on my body? Why would I die outside in 30-degree weather without a structure around me? If my people came from Northern Europe, which they did for so long, how come I didn't evolve to not die in the snow and then die in the sun? If sexual selection actually had an impact on us, like they say it did, if we can evolve to have the complexity of a human eyeball out of a Big Bang, even though that goes against entropy, why on earth have we evolved to not have skin that's resistant to the one constant in our life at all times, which is the sun and then the winter? It doesn't make any sense, right? So what is the point of all of this? Is this supposed to give you despair and fear? No, it's removing it. We were created. That glass that was broken was a glass because someone made it. So someone made us to have eyes to see, ears to hear, a mouth to taste, hands to touch, a woman to love, a child to hold, right? That is love. And so what's the purpose of life? Serving that which gave us all of it, God. And they want you to think that we are on a spinning ball in an infinite black, and every atom that just smashes together randomly eventually became your parents, who randomly fucked and are now silently watching NCIS in some long, weird, passive-aggressive game, and you're just here to randomly smash your genitals against someone. No way, guys. That's despair. That's the world where you need medication to get out of bed. That's the world where you can be easily tricked because you have nothing to be grateful for or nothing to live for. When you know that your eyes of your children were created, that means whoever created it loves you. So serve that who loves you, which is your creator. There is no way that moon just got this. The story is an endless serpent distracting you from God's love and making you sad and full of despair. And every time I point out one of these deceptions and people say, oh, I can't be with you on this one, man. It's too much stress. I'm removing the stress. You're made in love. Your soul matters. Your choices matter. God loves you. Why would God give you eyes that can see your wife holding a baby? That came out of chaos? No. Why would God make all these unbelievable nonsense things that everyone tries to explain away? None of the scientists have any cohesion whatsoever. You know, they just changed the time frame of the Big Bang by 1 billion years, and no one batted an eye because they are not walking with God. Have gratitude. When you have gratitude towards your Creator, and it's so simple. Just be thankful every day. Be thankful that this was created, that this isn't random results of genital smashing. And then when you're thankful, when you say, thank you, God, God says, no problem. God is everything, guys. This is created out of love and form. And when you see it, your life has more form and order and beauty and love. You can forgive. You can call out bullshit. You can get mad and not be scared that you're bubbling with rage. The purpose of your life is to have gratitude and purpose and serve God, that which made you. That science didn't give you eyes. Random over 1 billion years didn't give you ears. God did. And that's logic. Do you think logic and math explains how our solar system and galaxy is a straight flat plane? And even though we have the law of entropy, for some reason, the most complicated physical things that we can't imagine just came out of You're out of your mind. That is the illogic. Logic comes from a word, guys. Logos, logic. It's the same word, the word, God, form, natural law. It's all the same thing. You know what is real and what is not real. And when you know truth will set you free, work will set you free. Labor, truth, love, family, soil, that's what's real. Then you won't fall for these tricks.
How do you feel about that?
Died the following. This man's name is Joseph Spencer. He recorded this interview in 1989. He was dying, and he actually died the following year in 1990. It's the only time he's ever talked about this on camera. It's about 14 minutes long, and I'll just show you a few clips. But he's ex-CIA, and more importantly, he claims to be ex-Men in Black. And just check out what he's saying here.
This transition in my life happened in 1970. The senior black project director was William T. Latham, who had worked under CIA Executive Director Richard Schlesinger. Latham stated that I was the perfect candidate for my new position. I was a foster child, and I had no connections to existing relatives. I had no friends or social life. It was easy for them to erase my past and provide me with a new identity. I gave myself to them as a priest would to his God. But first, my mind had to be erased. I was injected with various forms of mind-altering drugs, LSD, heroin, mescaline, morphine, sodium pentothal, and more. Drug-induced hypnosis followed with antegrade and retrograde amnesia. The goal was to program me to do two things: kill and forget. After 9 months of programming, I had become a man in black. What I later discovered was that not all the men in black were human. About a third were alien hybrids. Their distinctive feature was the absence of whites in their eyes, giving the impression of empty eye sockets. This unsettled me, and it took months to adjust to the reality of alien integration. My assignments largely dealt with UFO sightings and crash sites. In August of 1971, I witnessed my first UFO crash site just north of Edwards Air Force Base in California. Inside the craft were 3 grade humanoids, 2 dead, 1 still alive. Also in the craft was a human female abductee. The alien humanoids were transported to the base, but 2 witnesses had arrived before us and took several photographs. The first surrendered his camera, but the second fled. When we apprehended him, he resisted, and I was ordered to silence him, which I did. The killing of witnesses was executed with a wand that acted very much like today's taser, but the voltage from the wand would cause immediate cardiac arrest, and the victim's death would be attributed to natural causes. We silenced countless victims, not only men, but women of all ages and even teenagers. The following day, after each kill, our memories were reset, so we would have no recollection of the murders. A good majority of the victims were ufologists and whistleblowers. Among the ufologists I personally silenced were Paul William Cooper, Milton Vigay, Claude Monroe, Anthony Vargas, and noted documentarian Samantha Willis. When my wand malfunctioned with Samantha, I resorted to strangulation. She fought for her life for almost 2 minutes. In recalling this act, I stared into her pleading eyes for the entire duration with absolutely no remorse, guilt, or feelings. That was how effective the mind conditioning was. And it's her face that haunts my dreams more than anyone's to this day.
So they stuffed out a documentarian.
Yep.
Well, that's not good to hear.
Yeah. All right, we're going to move on. In 1954, Dwight Eisenhower signed what's known as the Granada Treaty with the alien gray race. In exchange for shared alien technologies, the Greys were allowed to abduct a number of humans annually for medical examination. The Greys also demanded anonymity from the public. A short time later, human technology took a giant leap forward with circuit chips, fiber optics, and lasers. The Granada Treaty is still active today, but the number of human abductions has increased, despite objections from the world governments. Now, the really interesting part. Every year, at least 8 million children go missing in the world. I can attest that 1/3 of them are abducted by government operatives and transported to any one of the 1,477 underground military installations on the planet, then imprisoned for the remainder of their lives. The children are subjected to biological and genetic experiments, dissections, and mutilations performed not by human scientists, but an alien gray species. During my stay at the Vanguard Underground Base north of Phoenix, Arizona, I witnessed many of these procedures. Because there was no form of anesthesia administered to the young patients, the halls reverberated with the screams of tortured children from morning to night. The ones that perished were incinerated in the installation's crematoriums. My point of contact at this base was Lieutenant Colonel Charles T. Leninger, and he was a human-alien hybrid. And get ready for this. In 1994, the World Population Summit in Cairo, Egypt, had 160 nations participate, where they all agreed that the human population was out of control and must be stopped because the world is running out of resources. An agreement was formed that would mandate the reduction of humans from 6 billion to 800 million by the year 2030. This meant finding a method or methods to wipe out nearly 95% of the population. Solutions were discovered, investigated, tested, then created, and have been in full force since. The procedures have been inflicted onto the human race are as follows. 1. Toxic levels of chemically enhanced fluoride have been secretly added to our drinking water over the last 20 years in every city and community on the planet. I personally oversaw the delivery of fluoride barrels to Denver, Chicago, Tampa, and Minneapolis water departments. The adverse effects of fluoride poisoning to the human body are numerous and debilitating. The effects to children is damage to their neurological development, among other serious ailments. 2. Man-made viruses and diseases. The AIDS virus, which was a designer byproduct of the American Disease Institute, was distributed through vaccines to the public in 1980. Instituted as a preliminary population control tactic, the results were successful and led to more lab-produced viruses that have since been unleashed onto the public. Among those is the development of a mutated version of the common flu to replicate the 1918 influenza pandemic that killed 40 million people. The first strain of this new flu virus will be released to the public in late 2017. So if we see a flu outbreak in the late 2017 or early 2018 that's killing people, we'll know this is true.
All right.
3. Killing us from the air with neurotoxins, barium chloride, cancer microbes, and viruses by way of chemtrails, released into the skies daily over all inhabited regions by military aircrafts. The effects of these toxins are severe and over time lethal, causing respiratory ailments, cancer, damage to the immune systems, and sterilization in men. Since the chemtrail plan was implemented, sperm count in men has dropped nearly 50%. If this isn't reversed soon, the human race will face early extinction.
So, let me know what you think.
This is probably the most important video that I will ever make in my entire life, and I hope it reaches as many people as possible. I hope you watch throughout the entirety of this video and realize that the information within it is really important. And share the video, like, comment. I haven't slept probably full night's sleep in about 4 days. Just been researching, and I think I'm onto something here, and I have something to get across to you about these guys. You know, these guys that came here and did all the stuff to these guys that they did. Yeah, we're going to talk about these guys. It's important to know the history of the last picture that I showed and actually what went on in context to make sense of anything really that we're going to talk about here. It all needs to be in context, so it's going to require a lot of researching. So this is really only for the intellectuals, to be honest. The laymen will not be able to follow this. You remember these guys, right? If you know the true story behind these guys and who actually came to America to fight us and the financial history behind that, you'll also need to know that too. Too much for this video. Let's keep going with the Constitution. So the Constitution was written by the Founding Fathers. The Founding Fathers didn't like who? The British Empire or Britain. And they wanted to be segregated from them. They wanted to write a constitution of articles and amendments that would separate the powers to the people instead of the British Empire, right? This document was written in 1776. Follow me here. This is extremely important. Slow down the video, download it, slow it into a different speed if you need to. We need to keep moving. There's 3 different types of categories of the English language. To read that document, the Constitution of the United States, written in 1776, written in legal English, because it's a legal document, you need to know legal English, reference to that time. But let's keep going with the English thing. Then you have proper English. This is the type of English that you would write a book in, or poetry in, or you would address your mother in from across the country, okay? There's two of the three types of English. Keep following. Slang. This is for the people that are saying, no cap, sus, trip, lit. This is what you talk to your coworkers in. This is what the common layman speaks to each other in. You have to know that there's 3 different distinct languages here. You cannot speak and read in slang and expect to understand the Constitution. Are you following? So I found this out about 4 days ago. I was like, okay, so legalese, English. Okay, this is really confusing. I'm going to have to do a lot of studying here. And I did all day, all night, calling people. Thankfully, I have a lot of friends doing this too, so I was able to get really far really quick. When these guys met up and wrote that document, the Constitution of the United States, they basically wanted to protect themselves and give themselves the most power in this country. Under what? Common law, which comes from where? Britain. What is common law? It's the most powerful form of law. And it literally is backed. All law is backed by this law. But this is the highest form of law in America right now. And that's where I live. I don't know what yours is. I'll look into it. You want to call me or something? But when these guys were trying to get away from these guys, essentially they wrote that common law was the most powerful. And guess what? Common law is the idea. Just study common law. Too long for this video. Sorry, I can't do the whole thing. This is just to get people thinking, right? Let's go back to the books. Let's go back to the dictionary. Sorry, I'm skipping ahead here. I'd already thought that we talked about the book. Let's talk about the books. Let's talk about the dictionary. What is, if we have a dictionary for proper English, what is the dictionary for legal English? Huh? What's behind you, you ask? Oh, well, this is a dictionary of law. This must be the dictionary of English. Definitions of terms and phrases of American and English jurisprudence, ancient and modern. So I started thinking again. I said, well, if this is from 1891, if they were speaking in legal English, the guys that wrote the Constitution of the United States, right? If they were speaking in legal English, what English dictionary in the form of legal English were they referencing to write the document? Because that's how you write in law. I found out. You may ask me, well, what's the difference between legal English? We kind of went over the definition. I showed them on the page, but I want to make it clear. These forms of English use the same words. The only way to distinguish them from one another is the interpretation of the definition given by the dictionary. So we, the people, in normal English, formal English, cannot be read in that definition of formal English, of the normal dictionary, the Webster's dictionary, or whatever dictionary it was back then. Guess what? I know. I've already guess what? I already looked down all this rabbit hole. Why do you think I haven't slept? The New Law Dictionary, right here. This is by Giles Jacob, and it is before. It's the closest version of the Law Dictionary that would have been necessitated to have been used by the Founding Fathers that wrote the Constitution. What? Did you think we were done? No, I went further. I kept falling down the rabbit hole. I started critically thinking. And I said, well, to write in legalese, if you have to write in proper English and legalese at the same time, because not every word is a legalese word, then wouldn't I need the dictionary that was used at that time too, previous to the 1776 Constitution being established? Are you following me? 1755. I wonder if this is... No, just kidding. No need to wonder. It is. By this book. By the last book that I showed you in this video. Watch this video a couple times. Maybe follow me. Maybe share this, because I'm the only one realizing that this English language is a code. And the code is really structured because the law is really structured. And it leads all the way back to Rome. Just like all the roads do, so does the law. Let me know if you found this interesting. Share the video. If you want more, maybe I need to start streaming on Rumble and we'll do a little bit of decoding. Have a good day.
So this is for everyone who wanted a deeper look into common law.
Okay, today I'm going to explain how everything can be manipulated with frequency. So in one of my previous videos, somebody said, that's so crazy, you can send electricity if it's tuned correctly, and my response to them was, you can actually manipulate anything you want with frequency. So now I'll go ahead and show that comment. So now I'm going to explain what I mean by this. So we have atoms and molecules making up everything. So atoms are positive and negative charges, protons, neutrons, electrons, which means they're electricity because charges electricity. So everything, therefore, is electricity. So electricity, unless it's direct current, it vibrates in some way. So that means it has a frequency. So everything must have a frequency. So proof of this concept is, for example, an opera singer will sing and shatter a glass at its resonant frequency if they sing at the right frequency and the right amplitude. They can shatter the glass. Another example, if we have two tuning forks tuned identical to each other, or made identical to each other, like for example, we have two tuning forks of the frequency 432 hertz, and we hit one of them and one is right next to it, we can make the other one vibrate without even touching it. That's just a few examples. Another good example of frequency is, say you're wanting to listen to an AM radio station. Let's just say AM for now, amplitude modulation. Say you're wanting to tune in to 1,000 kilocycles or 1,000 kilohertz. Do you know what that kilohertz means? It means 1,000 hertz. So hertz is, well, for example, your house current is 60 hertz if you live in the US. Another good example of this is radio. So say you're wanting to listen to AM, amplitude modulation, which means it's modulating the amplitude of a wave. But anyway, so say you're wanting to listen to 1,000 kilocycles or 1,000 kilohertz. Well, kilohertz means 1,000 hertz. So anyway, that's a frequency. So, okay, so 1,000 kilohertz would be roughly 1 million hertz because you do 1,000 times 1,000 because kilocycles, and there's already 1,000 in front of it. So that'd be 1 million hertz. So say you want to listen to that radio station, well, you're tuning into a frequency. So in order to tune into the frequency you want with radios and stuff, you use what's called an LC circuit or tank circuit. Now I'll show you the definition of an LC circuit, but it basically means an inductance capacitance circuit. Okay, now I'm going to share something very interesting. So our power grid, from the municipal generators all the way to our house, pretty much everything in the U.S. To get electricity to our house and what we use is 60 hertz. So 60 hertz alternating current. Did you know that radio waves or radio frequency or RF, whatever you want to call it, the stuff that goes from your broadcast station to your radios, the stuff you listen to on your radios, is actually alternating current as well. When alternating current reaches a frequency of between 20,000 hertz and 300 gigahertz, it's considered RF, or radio frequency. So yes, you're listening to wireless electricity on your radios. It's not the most efficient way to do it, but it works. There is more efficient ways to do this. So here's another interesting fact. Did you know that we see in wavelengths and light is in wavelengths? There's plenty of other examples of wavelengths, but did you know that wavelength can be converted into frequency? Now I'm going to show you an interesting demonstration. So here I have a diathermy machine. It's from the 1930s. I've already plugged it in. So it's using 60 hertz alternating current. It uses 110 volts at 6 amps, so roughly 650 watts of electricity. Anyway, okay, now I'm going to do my demonstration. I'm actually going to be setting y'all on this music stand so that it doesn't interfere with my phone. Also, before I do this demonstration, I would like to tell you what's going on. Okay, so first, I will touch a metal object to the cauterizing terminal on the diathermy machine, and you will observe that there are only about an inch long sparks. Then, after I do that, I will connect this coil to that cauterizing terminal, the bottom of this coil I wound, which, by the way, this coil is wound up to 1/4 of the wavelength of the frequency coming out of this diathermy machine. The frequency on this diathermy machine is about 29 megacycles. So this is 1/4 wavelength of 29 megacycles. So this will act like as a guide, basically, for the electricity. So I have wound this coil to 1/4 of the wavelength of 29 megacycles. This works best with this situation. Actually, with this situation, a half wavelength, a full wavelength, and a quarter wavelength work best in this scenario right here. But if you're doing something else with frequency, like say you're not dealing with this electricity like this, you might find other wavelengths that work better. Okay, now I will do the demonstration with the phone on this music stand right here, so this hopefully won't interfere with the phone. Okay, here I have a knife. I'm going to turn this on and observe the inch-long sparks. Then I will connect the coil and then observe the sparks. Okay, now I'm going to connect the coil. And I've added this little metal thing on the top. This acts as a capacitor to tune this as well. Okay, let's connect this. Okay, it's connected. I hope, here, let me bring y'all in to see the connection. Okay, there it is. I'm not going to flip my camera because it'll stop the video and I don't want to. Anyway, there's the connection. That's the only connection. Okay, let me put the phone back over here. Now, watch this. Now, that was just one example of what you can do with one certain frequency. Now, with the right combinations of frequencies, or the right frequency, or the right combination of frequency and harmonics, anything is possible. And that's what Tesla means, Nikola Tesla means by his quote, the key to the universe is energy, frequency, and vibration.
Well, I think this kid here is about the closest thing to a modern day Tesla as I've seen. I wasn't able to follow a lot of that, but that was pretty fascinating nonetheless. So that's all I got today, guys. Thanks a lot for hanging out with me. If you made it all the way to the end, you are awesome. But again, let me know what you thought of the length of these clips. If these are too long for you, that's fine. We'll stick to the old format. And don't forget to come check me out on 80 After Dark tomorrow. A lot of you guys haven't made it over there yet, and I could really use those subscriptions. But I guess I'll see you in the next one. And until then, 80 Canadian, signing off.